What if I told you that paying off your mortgage early is one of the most expensive decisions you could ever make? Not because of the interest, not because of some obscure tax trick, but because of something the bank never shows you, something your financial advisor probably glosses over, something called opportunity cost. And by the time this video is over, you're going to see a number so large it is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about getting out of debt. Stick with me because what we are about to reveal could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to your family. And the math, well, the math does not whisper, it shouts. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now and ring that bell. Because on this channel, David Marshall Finance, we do not sugarcoat money. We show you exactly how it works, even when it is uncomfortable. Even when the truth is the last thing you expected to hear. Now let me introduce you to our guy, Dave Marshall. He is a regular American dude, mid-30s, works in sales, loves college football on Saturdays, makes decent money, and just bought a house. He has got a $240,000 mortgage at 7% interest on a 30-year fixed loan. And Dave, like most Americans, lies awake some nights staring at the ceiling thinking about that number. $240,000, that is a weight. A psychological anchor sitting on his chest every morning. Dave has $500 extra every month, just sitting there. He has options. But here is the thing about options when it comes to money. The one that feels the best is almost never the one that builds the most wealth. And that gap between how something feels and what it actually does to your net worth, that gap has a name. That gap is called opportunity cost. Here is the question that is going to drive this entire video. What should Dave do with that extra $500 every month? Now Dave has a buddy, his name is Marcus. Marcus and Dave went to the same high school, same college, same income level, same neighborhood. In fact, they bought their houses the same year, same price, same 7% rate, same 30-year fixed loan, same starting line, completely identical financial situations down to the penny. But Marcus and Dave made one different decision about that $500, just one. And over 30 years, that single choice creates a gap in their net worth so wide you could drive a truck through it. We are going to follow both of them year by year, decision by decision, and by the end of this video you are going to see the scoreboard, the final number. And I promise you, that number is going to hit different than any finance advice you have ever received in your entire life. But first, let me ask you something personal. Have you ever dreamed of the day you burn your mortgage note, like actually burning it in the backyard with a cold beer in your hand, friends and family watching, no more payments, nobody owns your house but you? That feeling, the deed in your hand, no lien, no lender, just yours, that is one of the most powerful emotions in all of American homeownership. It is real, it is valid. And Dave felt it too. Every time he sent in that extra payment, he could almost feel that celebration getting closer. So Dave made his choice. Every month, Dave calls his lender and sends that $500 straight to the principal of his mortgage. He sets it up automatic, and every time that loan balance drops, Dave feels just a little lighter. Year after year, Dave watches that number fall on his amortization table. $235,000, $228,000, $215,000, $198,000. Every statement is a small victory. Every dollar of principal paid down is a dollar the bank can never charge him interest on again. Here is something most people miss about the mortgage payoff strategy. When Dave pays down principal on a 7% mortgage, he is earning what financial professionals call a guaranteed risk-free return of 7% on every single dollar. Let that land for a second. A guaranteed 7% return. You eliminate 7 cents of interest for every dollar you pay down. No stock can promise you that. No bond, no savings account, no investment vehicle on earth. It is locked in. Certain, guaranteed. And in a world full of uncertainty, guaranteed feels really good. But now across town, Marcus made a different call. Marcus took that same $500 every month and instead of sending it to the mortgage company, he opened a brokerage account and started putting it into a total market index fund, something like VTI or VOO. Low-cost, diversified, tracking the entire U.S. stock market. And Marcus just let it sit there every month. $500, automatic, he barely even looked at it, because Marcus understood something critical about long-term investing. The watching does not help, the time does. And here is where it gets interesting. Here is where the opportunity cost starts to show its real teeth. The historical average annual return of the U.S. stock market, measured over long stretches going back nearly a century, is approximately 10%. Now let me be crystal clear because this distinction matters enormously. That 10% is historical, it is not guaranteed. The market goes up, it goes down, it crashes, and then it recovers. Over any given 10-year window you might see 4%, you might see 14%, you might see a negative return before it bounces back. The 10% is the long-run average, not a promise. But over a 30-year horizon, history has been remarkably consistent about where the market tends to land. So Dave has a guaranteed 7% by paying down the mortgage. Marcus has a historical, not guaranteed 10% in a total market index fund. That gap, 7% versus 10%, sounds small. 3 percentage points, barely enough to notice at first glance. Right. Wrong, and that is precisely the trap that costs people hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. Because of one thing, compounding. And we are about to show you exactly what happens when those 3 percentage points get multiplied by decades of time. Let us check in at year 5. Dave has been sending extra principal to his mortgage every single month without missing one. His loan balance has dropped significantly ahead of the original amortization schedule. He can feel it every time he logs in and looks at that number, real, tangible. His equity is growing, his fixed housing cost is locked in, and Dave feels secure, like he is winning. Marcus checks his brokerage account and the balance is bigger than what he put in. His total market index fund is up overall, but the market also had a rough quarter in there. One month Marcus looked and his portfolio was down $2,000, down. His actual money was shrinking on the screen. And that feeling, that cold, sick drop when you see your balance go negative, that is what behavioral finance researchers call loss aversion, one of the most powerful and destructive psychological forces in all of personal finance. Dave's loan balance only moves in one direction, down, and that is deeply satisfying psychologically. Marcus's portfolio goes up and down, and the emotional experience is genuinely harder to manage day to day. Most people, when they see their portfolio fall sharply, make the worst possible move. They panic, they sell, they lock in the loss, and then the market recovers without them. They bought high and sold low and convinced themselves they were being smart and cautious. This is the critical difference between behavioral return and mathematical return. Mathematically, Marcus is on track to build life-changing wealth. Behaviorally, he has to be disciplined enough to never panic sell. That is harder than it sounds when you are watching real dollars disappear, and that is why risk tolerance is not just a checkbox on a brokerage questionnaire. It is a real psychological variable that determines whether you actually capture the return the market historically offers, or whether you sabotage yourself at exactly the wrong moment. But here is the thing about Dave that nobody talks about. Dave is not immune to psychology either. Dave has his own invisible trap, the trap of believing that a falling loan balance on his amortization table is the complete financial picture, the trap of not counting what he is not building. The portfolio that does not exist, the number that is missing from every statement Dave receives. That invisible portfolio is the opportunity cost, and it is compounding every single month whether Dave sees it or not, whether he thinks about it or not. The math runs whether you are watching or not. At year 10, the scoreboard is starting to pull apart in a way that matters. Dave's mortgage balance looks seriously dented. He is years ahead of schedule. His equity is substantial and real. At the dinner table, Dave can say he's going to have his house completely paid off way ahead of schedule, and everyone nods with admiration. At a summer cookout that sounds responsible, that sounds like the smart American thing to do. Marcus at the same cookout says he's been maxing out his total market index fund investments for a decade. Some people nod, some people change the subject. The dinner table does not reward Marcus in the same visceral social way. But the scoreboard does not care about the dinner table. The scoreboard does not care about social approval. The scoreboard only cares about net worth. At year 10, Marcus's total market index fund portfolio has been compounding for a full decade. That $500 a month at historical market returns has been working every single day. And here is the brutal reality of compound growth. The longer money compounds, the faster it grows in absolute dollar terms. Year 10 gains more absolute dollars than years 1 through 5 combined. And Marcus started that compounding clock on day 1. Dave did not start any investing clock at all. Dave's clock is still at 0. Now here is where the story shifts in a way that is going to surprise you. And this is the moment I want you to really pay close attention to, because this is the insight most financial content never actually shows you in full. This is the reveal that changes everything. Year 21, Dave does it. He makes the final payment on his mortgage. The house is his, free, clear. He calls his wife and she cries and he holds it together until he hangs up. He burns the mortgage note in the backyard exactly like he always imagined. Cold beer in hand, summer evening, the paper curling to ash. One of the greatest feelings of his entire adult life, the deed is in his hands. No lender, no lien, just Dave and his family and their home. And starting the very next month, in month 253, Dave takes his entire previous mortgage payment and that $500 extra and throws all of it into the market. All of it, because he has no housing payment anymore. He is free from that obligation, and he starts investing aggressively, finally, for the first time. Across town, Marcus has been investing for 21 consecutive years. His total market index fund portfolio has 21 years of compounding behind it. The original principal and the gains on the gains have been reinvesting automatically month after month for over 2 decades, and now Marcus keeps going at the same pace. He still has a mortgage, but he has a portfolio that has been compounding since day 1. Now let us get to the scoreboard, because this is the moment we have been building to. This is the number. At year 30, let us count up the total net worth for both men. Not just the portfolio, not just the house, everything, total net worth. For Dave, the debt-free path. Dave owns his home outright. A house purchased at $240,000 with historical appreciation over 30 years in a typical American market could be worth somewhere between $500,000 and $700,000 depending on location. That equity is real. Plus, Dave has been investing his full freed-up payment for 9 years, the final 9 years of our 30-year window. 9 years of serious investing builds a genuine portfolio. His total net worth is solid. Dave did well. For Marcus, the investor path. Marcus still had a mortgage payment throughout, but 30 years later that loan is essentially complete. His house appreciated similarly to Dave's, but Marcus has been investing $500 every single month for all 30 years, not 9, all 30. 30 full years of monthly contributions into a total market index fund at historical average annual returns. Run those numbers on a compound interest calculator and brace yourself before you hit enter. The math does not whisper, it shouts. The gap between Marcus's investment portfolio and Dave's investment portfolio at year 30 is not a small rounding difference. It is not a number you can rationalize away with, but Dave has peace of mind. It is the kind of number that changes what is possible for a family. The difference in what those children can inherit, the difference in what retirement looks like, the difference in generational wealth. The mathematical reality of starting that compounding engine 21 years earlier creates a wealth gap that a 9-year catch-up sprint simply cannot close. That is how compounding works. The early years are the most powerful years. The first dollar invested in year 1 does more work over 30 years than any dollar invested in year 25. That gap is opportunity cost, the invisible number, the one that was never on Dave's amortization table. That gap is opportunity cost, that is the invisible number, the number that was never on any statement Dave received, the dollars that were always working for Marcus and never working for Dave. 3 percentage points, 7% versus 10%, 30 years compounding. The scoreboard does not lie, it never has. Now here is where I need to pump the brakes and be completely honest with you, because anyone who tells you the investor path wins in every scenario for every person without discussing real risks is not being straight with you. A good finance video shows you the full truth on both sides. Let me talk about the real moments that test Marcus's path, because life is not a spreadsheet, life happens. Marcus loses his job in year 12. He has a mortgage payment due on the first of the month regardless of his employment status. His portfolio has value on paper, but pulling money out of the market during a downturn to cover mortgage payments means potentially selling at a loss, liquidating at the worst possible time. The economic value of housing security, knowing that nobody can foreclose on you because there is nothing to foreclose on, is real and it is not captured in any spreadsheet. Dave loses his job in year 12. Dave's house is his, no payment, no lender, no foreclosure risk. He needs to cover property taxes and utilities and basic life expenses, but the shelter, the foundation of his family's life, is locked down permanently. That psychological floor is real financial security. It protects his family in ways that are genuinely hard to put a dollar value on. This is the risk tolerance conversation. This is where blanket advice falls apart entirely. The right answer for you is not the same as the right answer for your neighbor or your coworker or the guy in the comment section. It depends on your income stability, your job security, your industry, your family situation, your emotional makeup, your actual ability to stay invested during market crashes, and the interest rate on your mortgage. And on the interest rate, I want to be absolutely direct with you because this changes everything. The rate is everything. The rate is the entire ballgame. If Dave's mortgage rate was 2.5% instead of 7%, this conversation sounds completely different. At 2.5%, the guaranteed risk-free return of paying down principal is only 2.5 cents eliminated for every dollar. The historical market average of 10% would represent a market premium of 7.5 full percentage points above the mortgage cost. At those numbers, the mathematical case for investing every extra dollar rather than paying down principal becomes overwhelming. During the era of pandemic-era 2.5% mortgages, financial mathematics was not whispering at people to invest instead of paying down early. It was screaming. At 7%, the guaranteed component becomes far more compelling. A guaranteed 7% return in a world where high-yield savings pay 4% and 5% starts to feel like a genuine financial asset. The math over 30 years still generally favors the investor at historical returns, but the risk-adjusted case for paying down at 7% is far stronger than it was at 3%. Always start with the rate. The rate is everything. So how do you actually apply all of this to your real situation? Here is the framework that should guide the decision. First, what is your rate? Above 7% or 8%, the guaranteed return of paydown takes on serious mathematical justification that competes more closely with historical market returns. Below 5% or 6%, the opportunity cost of not investing that extra money grows harder and harder to defend mathematically over time. Second, what is your income stability? Variable income, self-employment, cyclical industries, commission-based earnings. If any of that describes your life, the economic value of a paid-off house as a safety net is a real financial asset that belongs in your calculation. Fixed housing cost is a tremendous advantage when income is uncertain. Third, can you actually stay invested without panicking? This is the most honest question and most people do not answer it honestly. If you know yourself well enough to know that a 30% portfolio drop in a market correction would cause you to sell everything and move to cash, your actual behavioral return is going to land far below 10%. If you cannot hold through the volatility, the math changes. Be honest with yourself. Fourth, and this one is non-negotiable, have you eliminated all other high-rate debt first? If you have credit card debt at 22%, personal loans at 15%, medical debt collecting interest, none of the mortgage versus investing conversation matters yet. High-rate debt is a mathematical emergency. You eliminate 22 cents of interest for every dollar you throw at credit card debt. Nothing else in personal finance competes with that return. Pay it down first, full stop. Fifth, are you capturing your full employer 401k match? If your employer matches 50% of your contributions up to 6% of your salary, that match is an immediate guaranteed 50% return on every contributed dollar before the market even touches it. No mortgage payoff strategy, no index fund, no investment product on earth competes with an employer match. Capture every single dollar of that match before you do anything else with extra money. It is free money, do not leave it on the table. Now let me bring this home. Let us bring Dave and Marcus back to that same cookout at year 30, both in their mid-60s. Both with gray starting to show. Both sitting in lawn chairs watching their grandkids run around the yard. Dave looks at his house and there is zero mortgage. It has been his outright for 9 years. That feeling, even after 9 years, still sits with him in a good way. That accomplishment is real. Do not let anyone take it from him or dismiss it. Homeownership in America is not just a financial asset. It is identity. It is legacy. It is a form of security that matters to a family in ways that go beyond any spreadsheet. But Marcus has his house too, 30 years of standard payments completed and his home appreciated similarly to Dave's. And Marcus has his portfolio, built dollar by dollar, $500 at a time for 30 consecutive years of compounding. That portfolio represents a number that changed the financial trajectory of his family. His children know it. His estate plan reflects it. The scoreboard captured it all. At the dinner table, they both look successful. They both are successful, but the scoreboard shows a gap. And the gap came from opportunity cost, the invisible number, the one that was never on Dave's amortization table, the one the bank never once showed him. The math does not whisper, it shouts. Here is what I want you to carry with you after this video. There is no single universally right answer for every person, but there is always a right process for finding your specific answer. And that process starts with understanding opportunity cost, understanding the amortization table, understanding the real difference between a guaranteed risk-free return and a historical, not guaranteed market premium, understanding what compounding does to money across decades, understanding your own risk tolerance honestly, and always starting with the rate. The rate is everything. The best financial decision is always the one made with full information, not partial information, not just the information the bank puts on your monthly statement, full information, including the number that never appears on any statement anywhere. The number of what your wealth could have been on the path not taken, that is opportunity cost, and now you know it by name. And that is the David Marshall Finance Oxygen philosophy. Before you can give oxygen to anyone else, before you can help your kids, before you can build a legacy, before you can give generously to your community, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first. Wealth is oxygen, knowledge is the mask, and understanding opportunity cost is one of the first and most important moments of putting that mask on and breathing clearly for the first time. If this video gave you real value today, hit that subscribe button right now. David Marshall Finance drops new content every single week, and we go deep on the stuff that actually moves the needle for real American families. Mortgage strategy, investing fundamentals, financial psychology, wealth building in the real world, not theory, not textbook slides. The actual math behind the actual decisions you are facing right now in your own life. Share this video with someone who is thinking about throwing extra money at their mortgage right now, not because they are wrong for wanting to, but because they deserve to see the full picture before they decide, because every major financial decision deserves full information, and because the math does not whisper. It shouts. I will see you in the next one.